两岸的关系，要和气和从哦。我觉得最重要的原则就是要符合民主的原则。
Taiwan's president defends the country's sovereignty in her final New Year's address, as China's leader vows to seek unification.
With less than 2 weeks to go before Taiwan's national elections, people here are fighting back against Chinese disinformation.
Taiwan's vice presidential candidates clash over China policy in a televised debate. Plus,
2024 is here, and we're at the presidential office in Taipei to ring in a new, crucial election year.
hello and welcome to the first TaiwanPlus news of 2024. I'm Eric Gao. Tsunami waves have hit Japan after a massive earthquake rocked its center. The magnitude 7.6 tremor affected places across the country, and reports of damage have started to come in. Residents on Japan's western coast are being told to evacuate immediately, as waves of up to 5 meters are predicted to hit the area. Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen says only the country's people can decide their future. Her comments come after Chinese President Xi Jinping used his New Year's address to say that the two sides will for sure be united. Louise Watt reports.
3, 2, 1, Happy New Year!
Taipei and Beijing, joining the rest of the world in welcoming in a new year. But the politics linking the two sides are a familiar hangover. In his New Year's address from Beijing, Chinese President Xi Jinping again vowed that Taiwan will become part of China.
祖国统一是历史必然，两岸同胞要携手同心，共享民族复兴的伟大荣光。
The dispute between China and Taiwan goes back to 1949, when the two sides split during a civil war. The Communist Party that then came to power in Beijing has never ruled Taiwan. But under Xi, it has been escalating its threat to seize Taiwan.
There is a problem in society here in Taiwan where there are a lot of people who don't take it seriously, and they accuse China, or they refer to China as being a paper tiger. And I think that's a very dangerous way to safeguard Taiwan.
In Taipei, Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen used her final New Year's Day address to again offer dialogue with Beijing as equals, reiterating that Taiwan's future can only be decided by its people.
两岸的关系，要和气和从哦。我觉得最重要的原则就是要符合民主的原则，那以台湾人的共同的意志来做这个决定。
Beijing has repeatedly rebuffed Tsai's offer of talks. She's reached her two-term limit as Taiwan's president and will not stand in the upcoming elections, which China has framed as a choice between war and peace. War if Tsai's vice president wins, and peace if the opposition candidate, seen as more friendly to Beijing, does. This is what's defining the race to be Taiwan's next leader. All the candidates have said they want peaceful relations with China. But whoever wins, it's not going to change who is in power in Beijing, meaning that in terms of the existential crisis facing Taiwan, this year is unlikely to bring any resolutions. Alex Chen and Louise Watt for TaiwanPlus.
As Tsai and Xi's comments show, the Taiwan-China relationship is a major concern here. Voters will be paying close attention to the presidential candidates' stances on this issue as they decide who to vote for in 2 weeks. So all this week, TaiwanPlus will be focusing on the China factor. Taiwan has seen an uptick in fake news as it readies for the elections. The government has warned of China's efforts to interfere with and influence the vote. Rick Lauer takes a look at the people fighting against China's cognitive warfare.
A deep fake video purporting to show Chinese leader Xi Jinping denouncing Taiwan's presidential candidates and saying the country's upcoming elections are futile as he is the rightful leader of the country. It's been debunked by local Taiwan fact-checking organisation COFACT, but it's already caused upset in the nation, which China claims as part of its territory.
This type of content might make people feel like democracy is useless, election is useless, and what people do is nonsense.
Li works with more than 2,000 volunteers to find and debunk disinformation and run a chatbot that flags fake news shared on messaging apps. She says disinformation is up 40% ahead of elections. It's often difficult for the general public to determine the veracity of the information they are seeing. The government here has warned that China could be behind the massive amount of disinformation now out there, part of Beijing's attempts to disrupt the election now less than 2 weeks away. Beijing has been known to use a combination of economic coercion, military intimidation, and cognitive warfare like this to threaten self-ruling Taiwan. And their tactics are evolving. Taiwan has seen an uptick in videos, graphics, and memes spreading false information about candidates and parties considered less friendly to China. This content is easier to share and harder to detect.
Well, memes and illustrations are an easy way for people to absorb the information nowadays. We know younger generation, they are now really keen or interested in reading a whole report. So the memes become very, very effective.
But Taiwan is fighting back. Recently, at a temple in central Taiwan, hundreds of people joined disinformation training by a local civil defense group.
觉得很恐怖。我们一定要有这方面的认知啊，才不会被洗脑。
我觉得它是一个很棒的力量，就是让大家意识到我们有自主权，然后我们要怎么样可以防卫，就是替自己做好防卫。
Fact-checker Li publishes her disinformation updates in multiple languages on her website. She wants to share Taiwan's battle with the rest of the world.
The democracy issue and freedom issue is also in common. I think that is also one way to let people feel how Taiwanese people is different from Chinese.
China is stepping up its claims over Taiwan, and leaders here have warned that the country's freedom, democracy and peace are at stake in this upcoming vote. For Taiwanese, the battle for these values is increasingly being fought online. Justin Wu, Alex Chen, Klein Wang and Rick Lowett for TaiwanPlus.
Now, the country's vice presidential candidates have taken center stage in a televised debate where China was again the main focus.
Vice presidential candidates in Taiwan's upcoming election face off in front of the press and the nation. As the country's number 2, they would be expected to represent Taiwan as it manages tricky relations around the world. And at the top of the debate's agenda, Taiwan's relationship with China, which claims Taiwan as part of its sovereign territory, and its dealings with the United States, Taiwan's biggest backer, which sells the country the military hardware it needs to counter China. Representing the ruling Democratic Progressive Party, or the DPP, is Xiaobi Kim. Her team has a strong lead in the polls. A seasoned diplomat and former de facto ambassador to the United States, she said she already has the skills needed to handle complicated geopolitical issues and to keep peace across the Taiwan Strait.
台湾努力和理念相近的国家发展关系，在两岸关系维持稳定和平的现状，这是两岸人民以及国际社会对于台湾所期待的最大公约数。我们更以冷静不躁进、理性不挑衅的态度来应对。
On the other side of the political spectrum, media mogul Zhao Xiaokang is of the main opposition party, the Kuomintang. East Asia's oldest political party, it traces its roots back to China and says Taipei should have closer ties with Beijing. Zhao lashed out at the ruling DPP.
全球关注台湾没错啊，关注什么？关注台海会不会战争啊？大家都担心台海会不会战争啊？那谁引来台海的战争？那不就是民进党的政策吗？
The wild card for this race is the ticket with businesswoman Cynthia Wu. Her Taiwan's People's Party are running for the presidential office for the first time and say voters don't have to choose between the US and China.
中国的因素一直是在台湾总统候选的重要因素哦。那国民两党一个是靠中，一个是反中，都失去了台湾自主性，这是个国民两党的问题。所以民众党主张，可以合作的就合作，需要的竞争的时候竞争，必须对抗的时候对抗。
Later in the debate, Wu suggested the 3 candidates go eat at a buffet restaurant, saying that this way they could each have what they want, even if they don't agree on everything. But for Taiwan's voters heading to the polls in just 13 days, it's a very different choice, and a decision made more complicated by the question of how to deal with belligerent neighbouring China. Patrick Chen and Rick Lowett for TaiwanPlus.
A new year and soon a new leader. Tsai Ing-wen has hosted her last January 1st flag-raising ceremony as president, rounding out her final term in office. And while some people stayed up late to watch the fireworks at the iconic Taipei 101 skyscraper, others opted for an early morning celebration with Tsai at the presidential office. Joyce Tseng was there.
A new year has dawned, marked here in Taipei bright and early with the raising of the national flag at the presidential office. It's President Tsai Ing-wen's last New Year ceremony as head of state before she reaches her two-term limit. And people, many of them, beat the sun this morning to witness the moment and make some New Year wishes.
升旗典礼，我觉得是一个新的一年的开始，也觉得是应该是最后一次这个蔡总统的最后一次。那也觉得这8年很棒，然后也有很多很进步的一些，不管是法案啊，或者是议题上面都有很不一样的、很进步的一个作为。
希望可以有所改变，就是不要就是一直都是某些大党在执政，对，希望可以换点新的不一样的人选。
真正在做事啊，
对，希望
总统好。 副总统好。
In just 2 weeks, Taiwanese voters will be electing President Tsai's successor, and she'll be hoping to pass the baton to her right-hand man, Lai Ching-te, who was here this morning by her side, fulfilling his duty as the incumbent vice president. Become election day on January 13th, Lai will have to fend off 2 opposition runners for the top seat, and that's new Taipei Mayor Hou You-yi and former Taipei Mayor Ko Wen-je. There's been plenty of drama between the 3 candidates who've proposed competing visions for Taiwan. But each presidential hopeful has also been clear that they want to protect and serve the 23 million people who live here and steer Taiwan towards what they hope will be a prosperous and peaceful future. Howard Zhang and Joyce Tseng in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
As Lai Ching-te rang in the new year in the capital, his election opponents marked the day by campaigning. The main opposition Kuomintang's Hou You-yi held his own flag raising at his party's headquarters in Taipei. There, Hou restated his goal to stabilize relations with China to keep Taiwan safe. Meanwhile, third-party candidate Ko Wen-je of the Taiwan People's Party was traveling in the country's southeast. The former Taipei mayor worked to connect with locals at temples and night markets. Now, as Taiwan marks the start of 2024, its oldest public transportation system is beginning a new life as a state-owned company. The Taiwan Railways Administration has been run by the Transportation Ministry since the late 1940s. It has faced safety, staffing, and funding issues over the decades, leading to mounting calls for it to be restructured. And challenges remain. Fare prices might be raised, and many of the TRA's current 13,000 workers are expected to retire this year, leaving this new company understaffed. As the world rings in the new year, Harela Hughes takes a look at celebrations around Taiwan and around the globe.
Hundreds of thousands of people around Taiwan, ready to welcome the new year with countdowns, drone light shows, and fireworks.
我是北部人啊，所以我看台北101的烟火其实看蛮多次。那我觉得这次义大的它是时间更久，然后也是整体是更壮观。
很少有机会能在这么近的地方看见，就从香港那边过来。
Taiwan's tallest building, lit up by more than 16,000 fireworks, illuminated Taipei and the thousands of people watching. And around the globe, parties kicked off as the clock struck midnight. From Bangkok to Athens to Rio, people ushered in the new year. And with it, hoped for change in a world riven by the horrors of war.
We are all on one planet, so we are just human. Just to live peaceful together, that's the biggest hope we have for the next year.
ก็คงจะเป็นเรื่องพวกสงครามอะค่ะอยากให้แบบไม่มีสงครามอะค่ะเพราะว่ามันกระทบหลายอย่างพวกเศรษฐกิจอะไรด้วยค่ะ
نتمنى بسنة 2024 يعني تصلح كل شيء وترجع الحياة طبيعية زي ما كان يعني ترجع الحياة زي ما كنا من أول نرجع طبيعي نلبس ونرجع ونتمشور ويصلحوا البيوت اللي اتدمرت
2023 was a year marked by disasters and conflict. As the world welcomes a new year with fireworks and celebration, the hope for peace rings louder. Delphine Chen and Harel Hughes for TaiwanPlus.
A stampede at a New Year's Eve countdown party in Kaohsiung left several people with minor injuries. Revelers fled in panic after false reports of a man wielding a knife at about 9 p.m. None of the injured required hospitalization. The Southern Port City's mayor says police found nothing suspicious.
警方随即就控制场面，然后进行区块的盘查，那并未发现任何可疑的人士，那警方也立即的加派警力，就整个区域场域分区块来进行监控比对。
A new subsidy scheme here in Taiwan seeks to get unemployed people with disabilities back to work.
由劳动部补助雇主基本工资以及用人单位的行政管理及辅导费。那补助期间为3个月，最长可以延长到6个月。另外也有补助给雇主每人每月13000到15000元的奖助金。
The Labor Ministry announced the program after a survey found that most unemployed people with disabilities left their jobs because of issues with their employers. The grants aim to encourage businesses to provide jobs and training opportunities for people with disabilities. Taiwan's defense ministry says it will work to ensure discipline among new military conscripts. The ministry will coordinate with other government agencies to prevent violent incidents and disobedience. This comes as Taiwan's armed forces begin extended conscription of 1 full year. The new service period is intended to help prepare Taiwan and boost its defenses as China ramps up military pressure on the country. But concerns have been raised over training and facilities for all the new conscripts. Indonesian fishers here in Taiwan have launched a campaign to demand Wi-Fi on all Taiwanese flagged distant water vessels, and they're looking to standard setters overseas as part of their campaign. Yujing Huang has more in part 3 of TaiwanPlus's deep dive into the issue.
One last job after months away at sea. This crew has returned from a trip to water near Japan. They work on a Taiwanese distant water fishing vessel, sailing far away from its home port most of the year. For Southeast Asian fishers like these, it used to be that time out at sea meant time without contact with friends and loved ones. But that's not the case anymore.
现在我们那个 Wi-Fi 好用呢，30个小时有时间你进去房间。 拿手机，爸爸好，跟那个姐姐妹妹啊，有讲话哦。
Internet access, something taken for granted on land, remains a luxury at sea, especially in the fishing industry. It's a tough job with long hours and captains trying to make as much money as they can on each voyage. But the policies of one territory have started to change that's affecting the whole industry. Starting in 2019, the UK territory of the Falkland Islands started requiring vessels to get a license to fish in its waters. And that standard includes Wi-Fi access for the whole crew. The Falkland Islands is small, but its waters are rich grounds for fishers. That means a license to fish there is a prized asset, one the Taiwan Squid and Sauri Association didn't want to miss out on. All of the vessels under its banner have now installed Wi-Fi on board, including the owner of this boat, Chen Songrong.
其实大家装设这个都是很心甘情愿的。他觉得说我这是一个必须要的，因为当我要去跟港口国洽谈渔业合作的时候，我就是要遵守对方的规定。
But this is just the first step. Less than 10% of Taiwan's 1,100 distant water fishing vessels have Wi-Fi installed, and no country has yet to ensure Wi-Fi access for all fishers in law.
那它的管理对象、要求对象是外籍船，那对它的国内的产业，并不会有这个成本提高，那进而影响到它的这个产业的经营。那但是我们台湾要来要求这个台湾籍的远洋渔船。 那相对的就会对它的经营就会产生一个压力。
Even among the Taiwanese vessels that have installed Wi-Fi, conditions for workers vary considerably. Each fisher on Chen's vessel is allocated 30 megabytes per month, an amount that could be used up with just a few pictures. so communication is mostly through text. For the unlucky ones, Wi-Fi access is only granted in the Falkland Islands waters, while the lucky ones might be granted unlimited access for a certain period each day, like this man.
I'm very happy. I told you, I'm very happy. Our happiness is simple when you can communicate with your family. It's the simple way to be happy. No problem. You give the good service for us. We will give the best as I can to you.
Unequal access is something Taiwanese human rights activists believe is down to a lack of regulation, with government subsidies meant to encourage boat owners, leading to inconsistent results.
补助方式也意味着，那就会有业者不愿意配合，那这样就会有渔工没办法跟其他渔工一样享有权利，那这个也会涉及一种制度性的歧视。
Until Taiwan comes up with a legal guarantee for Wi-Fi access, campaigners say they'll continue to make noise. For fishers to enjoy a transparent working environment and to be able to stay connected to their loved ones, rights that many other people take for granted. Kamashi, Klein Wan, Edmund, Pichi Zhang, and Eugene Huang for TaiwanPlus.
Kami membutuhkan wifi agar kami tidak lagi diskriminasi. Kami membutuhkan wifi agar kami bisa mendengar cerita anak istri.
To understand the full picture of the Indonesian Fishers Wi-Fi campaign, go to the TaiwanPlus website for the complete report. 2023 was a year full of ups and downs for Taiwan and for the rest of the world. As the new year begins, join us as we look back on the year that was here at TaiwanPlus.
3、2、1，新年快乐
Mrs. Wang, are you with us?
I am paying attention.
This movie is very much a love song to our Taiwanese parents.
谢谢我的祖先，谢谢大南古道上面的所有人。
He is my dad, and we finally made it. Thank you, Grammy. I love you all.
Now, they're happy other transnational couples won't need to jump through as many hoops to make their marriage official.
Taiwanese tennis player Xie Su-wei has won her 4th Wimbledon title.
Taiwan's military reported this year's first incursion of Chinese warplanes into its air defense identification zone over the weekend.
16 Chinese warplanes, 21.
39.
20 Chinese warplanes and 4 naval ships operating around the country in a span of 24 hours.
China concluded 3 days of military exercises around Taiwan in response to
It's a meeting that Beijing has described as a severe provocation.
People's Republic of China should not use this transit as a pretext to step up any aggressive activity around the Taiwan Strait.
Honduras has ordered Taiwan to leave its embassy in the country within 30 days.
经过沟通无效，为了维护国家主权和尊严，决定自即日起终止和洪都拉斯共和国的外交关系。
I'll go home now. You do the closing.
On Wednesday, the Hong Kong-born American pop star died at age 48.
The founder of the globally famous soup dumpling franchise Din Tai Fung died at the age of 96.
It's been almost a month since 4 firefighters died in a factory explosion.
In just the past 2 weeks, more than 90 people have publicly spoken out about their experiences with sexual harassment. Many in the country say the Netflix Taiwanese show Wavemakers has ignited the country's biggest Me Too movement.
就是这种人不能靠体制内的方法，只能靠自己。什么党都是一样。
Thanks for saving us.
No problem.
After 3 decades of waiting, the public finally got a chance to experience Taipei Dome.
NBA champion and 8-time All-Star Dwight Howard is about to play his first game in the Taiwan T1 Professional Basketball League.
Dwight Howard has left Taiwan after the end of the local season, and he doesn't know if he'll be back.
Literally all summer, I've had a few NBA players say, I want to own a team in Taiwan.
We are currently at the closest point in the country to Typhoon Doksuri.
Typhoon Canada.
Typhoon Saola is not going to be making landfall in Taiwan this time. Typhoon Haikui, the first tropical cyclone to make landfall in the country in just over 4 years.
Yeah, gotta go. Love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
The ruling Democratic Progressive Party is fielding Vice President Lai Ching-te. Former Taipei Mayor Ke Wen-je is also officially running for president, while the main opposition Kuomintang or KMT has not announced its candidate.
我决定以总统参选人的身份登场，征召侯友宜同志，中华民国总统。
The number of presidential hopefuls running in January's elections could soon shrink from 4 to 3.
大家一起朝蓝白合作方向往前走。
The deal is off. Taiwan's two leading opposition candidates for president in January's election will not work together as planned.
We now know who all the major characters are, and the show can really begin.
Thank you for joining us on Taiwan Plus News this evening. For more of our reports, visit our website or download the Taiwan Plus app. Finally, we've got shots from the various New Year's fireworks displays across Taiwan for you. I'm Eric Gao. Happy New Year.